Hello everyone, welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's sort of weekend frivolity here. This is our little broiler chickens offering. Call it a daily brief, call it broiler chickens, doesn't really matter. It's, basically just a nice little update for you guys here. I'm always striving to try and, make you feel like you're getting good value for the course. So, and I do like these video interactions. Both if you have questions and you'd like to come into the Hangout itself and participate and interact and ask me anything, you've basically got me here in a captive audience. As well, listen to Brian's rants, sort of what is he thinking. I think, of course, it's important that we understand that, nobody really can predict the future. That's really not even our job as technicians. All we really want to do is just hunt edge. And if you happen to see an edge, be in a position to be able to try and take advantage of it. Interesting price action in Bitcoin overnight. Did have a little bit of an edge that presented itself late yesterday. Took a short trade, covered it today, made a bit of money, but I was a little disappointed we didn't go straight down to the target, but what the hell? Profit is a profit is a profit. So, there is lots of day-to-day activity. And of course, we saw, our resident bear, Thomas, whenever he pops his head into the lounge over the weekend, you probably saw him. He and I actually rode the Bitcoin market down last night. So we had a lot of fun. Hanging out in the lounge last night, talking, crypto and trades and setups. As well, too, we are, coming out of the summer, heading into the fall. They don't call it the fall for nothing. I think we have to be cognizant of the fact, seasonality. How do assets usually normally behave during this seasonal window? And just sort of try and put like market state into context for you here through these videos. I think that's a good idea. It's a good value sort of proposition for you. Because on balance, we really need to appreciate what time of year it is and what our expectations should be. I think it's not a bad idea too for us to maybe talk a little bit about long-term demographics and long-term cycles and why an asset like Bitcoin is acting the way that it is. I think those kind of conversations. Keep in mind, though, with regard to those long-term cycles, it's really important that they are long-term. It's not going to turn in on one day. Boom, there is the pivot for the next 17 and a half years. It's one of these things that evolves over time. So I think, those are the kind of conversations that we need to sort of keep in the back of our mind and, with regard to, what our expectations are in the market, try and, keep those thoughts, ideas fresh. I think on balance, and I always like to start out the presentation, of course, quite a bit of our audience is crypto-oriented, crypto-related, have definitely a bias towards this asset. So I always like to sort of start the conversations off with just a nice little look at the longer term picture in Bitcoin. And I mean, let's call a spade, guys. We all, hopefully should have seen our pocketbooks and our account balances go up over the past 6 months, year. So if you're new to this space, then you may actually have to go through a very tough sort of learning experience for you. And it kind of sucks, right? People are like, I'm going to subscribe to your site so that you're going to make me rich, Brian. And then the very first conversation is, oh boy. But if anything, what I really want is I want people to leave these videos, leave the site with, wow, I didn't know that before. If anything, buy a month subscription to the site. I think it's a better idea to buy like 90 days, and we actually reduce the price point on those longer terms. And literally consider that time, especially if this is your first time to the site, as you know, I've just invested 30 bucks, you know, big deal, not a hell of a lot of money. Really get your value out of it. Get those journals up and running. You should literally have 30 days of, wow, I learned this today. Wow, I learned that today. Wow, I learned this today. And hopefully what you guys see, and I, you know, a lot of students, I definitely see this, is that they look back and they go, wow, the $30 investment for this kind of market information is invaluable. So anyway, that's a, you know, call it a sales pitch, whatever. But every time I do one of these videos, I definitely think there's always, and you never know where the hell it comes out, right? Might be the next sentence, you just don't know. But there's always something that I seem to throw out there that people go, oh, I never knew that before. Oh, that's something new. So, all right, so if we're going to look at Bitcoin and we're going to say, you know, what the hell is going on here? I put sort of a white arrow on this weekly chart to really, in my opinion, identify probably the most important level that we need to keep an eye on here. And that is this 38.2 off of the range since Goldman Sachs's last little bottom call, if you will. We've been sort of talking about this for the past couple of weeks. We left, you know, really interesting tails down around this level, I guess about 3 weeks ago as we were surging to new highs. Went up, tried and, you know, and it's really interesting how, you know, so actually we might find that some of those Twitter screenshots of $5,000 print on Bitcoin might be historic. You might want to save those. I never did see a 5,000 print here. Like this thing topped out 49.79 here on stamp. And we had to sort of melt away from that that rally peak. And I had sort of put out to the public that, you know, I guess maybe about a week or two ago, I had been kind of saying, would you like, you know, Bitcoin's a great investment. Would you like a little bit of volatility with that investment? Because that's exactly what we're getting here in spades. If we think AB equals CDs, I'm leaning towards, you know, this V bottom that was registered back in the middle of August there. I'm thinking this really needs to be tested. And of course, we have this funny little gap that's still open here. You can see where the bottom of value is here. And then we had, you know, just simple premises like, you know, you could, this pivot here, it sure seems to me like, in a weird sort of way, it almost was like the market blasted through this level, it lost this level. So now we really almost need to go almost like a rubber band kind of sine wave effect, almost an equal distance. Which again sort of points again towards this sort of, you know, 4,000 area that should be tested. So I've been thinking that way for a little bit. Been thinking also too that this yellow line, what I like to call the pivot line, is definitely sort of the magnet. As the market sort of moves violently in one direction, the magnet sort of sucks it back to this sort of, you know, 44,000 area, 4,400. If we think about the profile too, you can clearly see there's quite a bit of unfinished business up in this area. If we can come back to the pivot and then accept it, I don't know whether we're ready to do that or not, but I could very easily see, you know, we talk about if price can break through ranges, look left. You can clearly see that lots of traffic up in these areas here. If we can clear through there, look left, and you can see the next resistance point is way up here. So, you know, in this sort of medium term, I still think that this battle is going on. And we're coming into a really, really interesting level here. If anything, kind of like reload zones kind of idea, let's maybe keep an eye on any kind of failures up in this area as we go up into this, if we can accept above here for newer trade locations. Last night we were sitting in the lounge and there's that, let's keep an eye on this reload zone going forward here. So I got my hunch is they want to take the market back up into here. Now, why would I say that? Off the lower time frames, we actually, and I still think that these AB equals CDs are valid. This really big one here, boom, 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 boom. I still think that's underway, but it was really interesting price action. They brought the market right against those lows there last night into that dump, and then literally the selling stopped. And it was interesting too, because Thomas and I were sitting there chatting in the lounge, and I was asking him, we were watching the profile on like OKCoin and stuff. And it was really interesting how he was like, it sure feels like it was just stop runs. So, I find it fascinating that whoever's running Stamp has basically now replicated these two bottoms here. Fascinating. And off of Stamp's bearish bot, this is the setup that we traded last night. I'll show you the OKCoin trade in a bit. But we had sort of talked about this through the weekend, and it was interesting. We had one new site member that he just so happened to come on and maybe just joined yesterday or the day before or whatever. And what I like to do if I'm going to trade the bot is I want to see 3 highs to risk against. I want to see that the bot level, and please, if you're not familiar with the bot, go into the setups page and watch the bot videos and look at all the pretty pictures and stuff. Just sort of get an idea of how it works. But in essence, this is the trade location level, 25%. What I really like to see, though, is I don't really want to take the trade on here. I want 3 highs. So when I saw this counter trend rally, the fact that we hadn't hit the move stop to scratch level yet, and then we put in this beautiful little fractal, now I had 1, 2, 3 serious highs to work with. So when this fractal signal came in last night, I just jumped on it. And really, when we go over to OKCoin, where we have our account, that was actually a little bit cleaner, easier setup to see. But we actually had a little bit of a problem with this trade. So this is a 15-minute chart. If we go down to, say, like an hourly chart. So there's the OKCoin bot. 1 high, 2 highs, kind of waffling. Gave me my 3rd counter trend rally. Nice fractal above the bot entry level. I was like, rock on. Now, the issue here that I had, and this is what's sort of, it's one of these crazy subtleties of trading cryptocurrencies, is I can't, if I had my druthers, I'd just go buy a put option or something. But I had to trade the forwards contracts. And for me to get the leverage trade that I wanted, because I wanted to risk against this high here, I actually had to be patient and wait and work my order at, it was like 75 or whatever, right in here. And the fractal actually fired and it confirmed, and I was sitting there for like 10, 15 minutes going, okay, my order's working. Are you going to fill me? Are you going to fill me? Are you going to fill me? And boom, eventually I got my fill. So I was actually pretty fortunate there. And of course, you can see how the darn thing just melted down. And it was interesting to watch the price action as price was melting down. Was in, when like I said earlier, Thomas and I were just chatting in the lounge. We were talking a little bit about price action. He kind of felt like these were just stop runs. When I was looking at the profile and I was putting up some really interesting posts and stuff last night, so go scroll back through the members lounge for those posts last night. There's some really, really good learning stuff here about this session profile as price was breaking down. We came down into this level and value was basically at this level. And you notice here that price actually reversed. It actually created a situation where there was, like what we like to call single ticks kind of thing. Or in essence, you could see value low was established. And as the market was working down, new sellers just kept coming in and coming in. And I was just like, until we actually start to see some sort of value low established, I can't believe that the selling is done. Now, the interesting thing with this, and this is the bot, you can see the M to get short. You can see the move stop to scratch, and I love when that level's hit because then I just go, phew, oh boy, I can at least breathe now. We had snuck in off of this fractal, and when the move stop to scratch levels hit, I can actually move my stop to this level, which means I'm going to book a little bit of a profit. So that's the one reason why I really like to front run it. But trust me, it makes it a little more difficult to front run the bot. Anyway, long and short of all this is the market then melted down to hit the move stop to trailing level. And it was getting so fucking late for me, right? I mean, this was basically midnight, right? And this was 1 o'clock. And so here I am on the west coast of North America. It's like 1:30 in the morning, and I'm just like, I'm so fucking tired. I can barely keep my eyes open. And I got to watch this thing. And I posted in the lounge, I was kind of like, all right, if we close above the 6-period moving average, I'll walk away because the move stop to trailing level was hit. So do you see how if we use the 6-period moving average, boom, your signal to get out of the trade is right there. Does that make sense? Anyone? I don't know. Am I just talking to myself? Maybe. If we go down to the lower time frames, right, we look at, say, like a 15-minute chart, you can see the structural signal, right? You can see the W here, right? So I think on balance, the smart thing, the right thing, the, hey, I'm an awesome trader, look at me, was to simply, exit the trade on the bullish resolution up through here. And you would have booked a really nice profit. But no, Brian's got to sleep. What an idiot. So I wake up this morning and prices moved its way back up. And it actually was interesting. And Brian M., I think that's the gentleman I was chatting with in the lounge this morning. He was like, well, Brian, they kind of put in structural bows. And I was like, dude, if that's the case and you feel like you want to hop, stop to trailing levels, hit, hop, get out, be happy, you won. And if anything, this is a perfect testament to that, right? Hey, what a fucking grinder. Now, I ended up booking, and I think actually we got out somewhere around this area here. But actually, no, I guess it was up near this area. I ended up, I was watching price action. I was humming and hawing. I had my original stop because when we hit move stop to break even, I moved my stops all down below here. We got into this area, and I was just like, ugh, fudge. Hindsight's 2020. Bitcoin got me again. So typical. I just blew the position out, took the profit. Hindsight's 2020. Blah 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 blah. I mean, I'm happy that I made some money. Certainly didn't make as much money as I wanted to. A little disappointed that we didn't get down into our, ultimate objectives. But I think the smart thing was when the market reversed off of the structural level, if you were trading the bot religiously and not falling asleep, I think probably the smartest thing was just simply hop there. And I think I actually saw some people in the lounge actually did that. So I was pleased to see that, or in and around those areas. So is this trade still working anymore? No, actually it's done. Next buzz in 10 minutes, as we say. And for the time being, like I said, what I'm actually thinking now, you can see that structural low there. And like we said, it was off of this structural low. It almost looks to me like, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm almost feeling like we got this big honking W working here. I don't know. Call me crazy. You're crazy! Right? But it almost looks like we got something like this going on. So, and we talked lots about how this profile was so empty. Right? We can still clearly see there's a big problem here. We can also see these little problems up here and up here. I'm not calling a bottom, and I'm certainly not, hunting long setups right in this area just yet. If anything, what I wouldn't have mind seeing is, do we have any signs of divergence on this move to lower? Uh-oh. Does everybody see the monstrous divergence that developed here? This low is higher than this low, but this low is lower than this low. So we could actually, believe it or not, we could actually start going into hunting like altangonators and stuff like that. down, especially on a retest of these lows, heading into the retail open this morning, or later on this today. It's about 12:30 Pacific time. Our new daily and weekly candle will actually print in about 3 or 4 hours here. So let's keep an eye on this. My hunch is, if they print the candle here, wicks and tails like to be eaten. They've got a little bit of a playground against this tail now, right, which is in essence all this range down in here. Let's really keep a close eye, guys. London kill zone, especially those people wanting to trade off of lower time frames. Let's keep a really close eye on how price behaves through our reload zones here. You guys notice that reload zone also happens to line up nicely with the bottom of value here, right there. So my hunch is, if Bitcoin is legit, we're going to come down into these levels through one of, maybe London kill zone, maybe New York kill zone. We're going to play against these lows and watch like a hawk for your trade setups. Like, interestingly enough, a guy like Ian, right? He could probably, through the kill zones, he could probably snipe some really great little short-term, lower time frame setups through this window. And by all means, Ian just happens to be one of our more vocal members. I'm sure there's lots of you guys that are trading away. My advice, if you wanted any, is let's keep a real close eye on this and really watch how the action develops. One thing that actually filled me with confidence while I was in this setup last night, especially if we go over to OKCoin, was when I looked at the internals as we were coming through here and I was hunting that short setup. The internals just looked like a train wreck. So this was hunting this short last night. So you can see, and if you look at the internals, it just makes a lot of sense why price had to break down here, right? It was just a mess. So let's watch how price acts. If anything, looking at this session profile, you can see where value low is here, probably against these tails right in here. Let's keep a real close eye on how price acts through this window right in here. I don't know whether you're going to get that opportunity or not. We might just V bottom and head straight up here. Who knows? But the long and short of it here, just in case anybody is curious, is yeah, we did have a short working on this setup. And on this dead cat bounce counter trend rally, we hopped off. Okay, and if anything, all those that are like, well, hey, doesn't this kind of look like a reload short zone? Yeah, well, you could argue that we are above value. We're back against previous sessions POCs and into their value. We're against this POC. I really wouldn't have a problem. Anybody lower time frame, can everybody see the inside bar that's firing here? If you get a nice little moving average cross on that inside bar, that's probably what's going to take us down into these levels here. Would I actively short that right here? And I'd have to have, like a day trader's plan running to justify taking that trade. I was in my short that took quite a bit of time to develop. I hopped off. Now, if anything, what I want to do is let's let price consolidate a little bit more. And if I start getting M's up here, then maybe I can start thinking about aggressively on the short side again. All right, so that's sort of what to expect, if anything. I can totally appreciate guys who are like, okay, well, I'm going to hop back in and start hunting shorts against these highs. I can totally appreciate that. But for me, I'm going to just give this a little bit more time to develop. Not a bad idea. We took a quick boo at good old Ethereum. I thought that was a really interesting. We had an interesting conversation in our weekly meeting about Ethereum. If it is of any value to you, I don't know whether it is or not. I've been following this GAN study off of Ethereum price, really watching how price is trying to behave through this 45-degree angle. If I understand correctly, there are some fundamental events coming up here for Ethereum. So if you are a fan of ETH, let's keep a real close eye on these event windows. I wouldn't be surprised if these angles are come into play some more. So you can see the potential little W that's trying to come in here. If we can resolve up through here, my hunch is probably up into these angles. You know, there is the reload zone. You can see it. Over the short term, though, I'm kind of thinking we're just in drifting mode. But let's see if the market can break this M and actually confirm a W here. And then maybe we can start getting a little more bullish of ETH relative to Bitcoin. I can understand, too, people thinking, hey, look, I'm going to take a long shot on ETH off of this low, this low, this low, this low. And, you know, the old adage, look left. If we lose these lows, best to just hop because we're probably going to dump down into these lows. So, you know, risk-reward wise, it's really not that bad of an idea. Traders got to trade kind of thing. You could get some serious multiples on your money here, hunting long setups and just simply risking against this shelf here. It's going to be entirely dependent on your trading plan, what type of risk taker you are. You know, the interesting thing is you could actually like throw 0.01 BTC, kind of like an Ian style trade at this, and just see what the hell happens. You might get like 5 Bitcoin back. Who knows? You never know in this crazy game. All right, so that's sort of commentary on ETH. And, you know, by all means, the boys did some great, you know, fundamental breakdowns. I don't know whether we're actually sharing this with the public, but by all means, you know, if you are interested in taking a look at this, I guess this is our, did we put the ETH? Yeah, there we go. So we got ETH references there. I think what I'll probably do is, just for the time being, well, but I don't know how we're going to do this. I'm not quite sure what happened here. Brian, Amazon versus ETH. Oh, yeah, that was actually a really interesting chart. I don't think that was ETH, though. I think that was Dash, right? Was that like a chocolate omelet? An ice cream omelet? Yeah, so this was Amazon versus Dash. It wasn't Amazon versus ETH, right? But, you know, this is more of that sort of macro picture, big picture kind of conversation. All the level oneers are going to get a big old dose of this kind of concept, this talk. Gail Dudak is our classic, what she used to be called Mama Bear. And she basically was like, you know, you guys are making a ton of money in the dot-com boom, great, but I can't justify recommending my clients get into this. And the irony of it all is Amazon came back down to like $5-10 a share in the dot-com blow-up. So I can start to see a lot of similarities here. You know, the writing is on the walls, guys. Seriously. Never found her on Google. Can you write her name? Yeah, it's with a K. Gail is spelled G-A-I-L. And Dudak, I think it's like I think it's like that. Let's see what happens. Do 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 do. Brian can find a screen to use. I guess I use this one. Gail Dudak. There's Gail. Ladies and gentlemen. What? There is Gail. Hey, there's Lou. Hey, look at that. There's that clown. 20 years ago. He's still just as bald today as he was then. Yeah, so anyway, she used to, through the dot-com bull, she used to have the nickname Mama Bear. Poor girl. But the irony of it all is she was right. She was actually right, you know? So it just goes to show that You know what this all comes down to? This all comes down to just simple, good old-fashioned common sense. What goes up must come down. And things don't stay up forever. And, you know, the irony of it all is that there's one thing that will absolutely solidify this thing coming back down to earth. What do you think I need to hear from the public that will absolutely guarantee that this actually plays out exactly the same way? I actually just gave you the answer. Hey, there you go, Chris. Excellent. As soon as somebody says, oh, no, Brian, but this time it's different. As soon as I hear that, then I'll know, all right, get ready for topping mode. Yeah. Don't really hear it too much yet. I hear it a bit. Gabby hears it every day. All right, I'm not quite sure what audience Gabby's listening to. But, you know, and it sucks because it's Brian being an old curmudgeon. But the long and short of it is, as soon as we start hearing people saying, no, 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 you know, like perfect analogy, the dot-com bubble. And, you know, you new level oneers, you'll be hearing lots of this. There was a company president, company was called Nortel Networks. And the stock was like $3, $4, $5 a share for years and years and years. And during the dot-com bubble, it went zooming all the way up to like 150 bucks a share, $120. This was absolutely insane. And the company president came out one day and he actually said, I'm getting out. I've had enough. I'm selling my stock. And because he owned more than 5% of the company, he had to, right? He had to do the dog and pony show. And what I found really sad about it was that through all of these television broadcasts that he had to do, reporting that he was getting out, all the talking heads, they all almost kind of made fun of him. You're getting out? What are you talking about? This is the growth is endless. It'll never stop growing. This time it's different. Oh boy. Now, it turns out that he did get out pretty close to the top. I think his average selling price on his stock was like 90 bucks a share. And then within 5 years, Nortel's stock was worthless. Worthless. Wasn't even worth the paper it was printed on. So, you know, the worst part about that is that cryptocurrencies aren't even technically printed on paper, are they? So, you know, let's just try and keep everything in perspective here, guys. Always play from a position of strength. Don't put on too much risk on any one position. Understand what goes up must come down. Enjoy the bull while it lasts. It's a great time. I'm not calling a top. You always know Brian's a little bit early. He's usually right, but he's usually early. But just be aware of market state. Does that make sense, guys? Is everybody here aware? And could you in your journal say, the current crypto market state, what do you think? Is it negative right now? Do people hate crypto? I don't think so. Is it neutral? People couldn't give a rat's ass about crypto? No, I don't think it's that either. Do you guys feel how we move in and out of, crypto's a good story, to, oh my fucking God, you gotta bet the farm on crypto too. Okay, well, maybe crypto's a good story too. Oh my God, you gotta bet the farm. Oh, well, okay, crypto's an okay story. Does it make sense how we're in that sort of window of market sentiment? I don't hear anybody saying, oh, crypto's a scam, it's all garbage, it's you're going to lose your shirt if you invest in crypto. Is anybody talking like that right now? Keep in mind, in 2015, the gold bugs are. Well, business as usual, yes, change society, but also, too, I think we need to appreciate what the market state is. Things are frothy, things are uppy, In fact, actually, there was a guy that I used to work with, and it doesn't quite work on crypto because this damn thing moves so fast. But what he would do is he would take a chart like this, and he would actually break it into zones. And so check this out, guys. If we go, okay, there looks like a trading zone. And this looks like a trading zone. And this looks like, I don't know, somewhere in here. Maybe there, I don't know. That looks like it. Do you see how we're sort of in zones here? And so that's sort of my talk about 38.2s, that really this is the market state. And if we do M here and lose 38.2, then we're going to be in sort of this zone. And really, I would argue that you could actually put a, oh my God, you got to bet the farm on Bitcoin. Oh, well, Bitcoin's good. It's a good story. I like it. Oh, I got to bet the farm. But we're not in a, oh, this is all a scam. This is bullshit, right? Which is this kind of market. And let's face it, guys. The guys who make all the money in this world. In fact, the China ban was all this move here. This was the first, was it the first? Yeah, I think it was the first U.S. Marshal's Office auction of Bitcoins. And then we went through this period here. It was sort of like people had sort of just become complacent and just accepted that Bitcoin was worth $600 a coin. And then we just started to go into sort of meltdown mode. It was really interesting how that played out. Anyway, all right, where should we go next? A really interesting, non-crypto idea that the boys and I were kicking around in our meeting. I can go and buy, natural gas. This is a weekly price chart. You can see the trading range natural gas is in. You can see how it's near the bottom end of the range. I can actually go and buy a 1.5-year call option. That's a shitload of time. And, 18-month call option at $8 on this natural gas ETF for 65 cents. And I thought, that's kind of interesting considering that this gap, there's a big hole on the charts, goes all the way up to $9.25. Technically, if the price can come back up and fill in this gap anytime over the next 18 months, I can double my money from like 60, 65 cents. You see how that's like $1.20, $1.30 right there? Very interesting trade idea, eh? I don't know. Does that resonate to anybody? Now, check this out. If maybe, just maybe, and keep in mind we're buying 18 months at a time. If this thing might actually be a bull, does this market have any room to run? What do you think, guys? Watch what happens when I go scroll. Wow. I mean, just since 2014, I could actually, that's not really that long ago. I could see a move back to the 50% level, which would be $16.84. Now that option that I bought at 65 cents, it's going to have an intrinsic value of $8.85. Fuck me. Do you guys see how the big boys make money in this world? You think I'm done? You ready? Watch this. Holy shit, I fucking Muslim. Hey, doesn't this kind of look like an altcoin? This is an interesting conversation that we had in our team meeting. At first blush, I was kind of like, natural gas, do I really want to be interested in the natural gas market? And I looked at this and I went, damn, that is one hell of a son of a bitch. I'm not saying it's going back up here. I'm not saying that for a moment. What I am saying is 65 cents to go and lock in for the next 18 months a position off of this level on this thing. I think the risk reward is definitely worth it. What do you think? Do you think you could realize greater than 65 cents of reward on a trade like this? I think so. Could you justify seeing, 2 or 3 times your money over the next 18 months? I think so. Could you see 10 times your money on this thing over the next 18 months? Believe it or not, that's actually not unrealistic. Interesting idea. Eh? And actually, in our group meeting, we even went and found the option. Let's see where the hell it is. And do you see the difference between Brian? What's Brian interested in buying? Right? And then we have our conversations about what the public is interested in buying. Do you see the polar difference? Isn't that incredible? This is how you make money over the long term in this silly game. Is you want to try and avoid going and parking your money in there, and you want to try and take your shots off of stuff like this. Hey, Jeremy. Oh, you're the man. There is the option chart. Isn't that interesting? It's just sitting there going, here, I'm an option. Here I am. Da, 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 da. Isn't that cool? What I really liked about this is you just basically you're buying forever. 65 cents. Control 100 shares. Maybe go buy a couple. 130 bucks. Right? Look to sell one. If it doubles, get your 130 bucks, put it back in your pocket. And who knows where the hell the other one will go. So, something in the broader market for you to chew on. And great work, James, Jeremy, Payman. Had a really nice meeting with you guys. It was really good, good stuff. I don't see James here, but Jeremy, spot on. Great quarterbacking in the meeting. Payman, great stuff. I feel really, really good about that conversation. Okay, what else should we look at? I don't even know if anybody's watching on the YouTube page or not. Do we have a pretty full room here? Is anybody over there watching? How do I get over there? It'd be funny if we weren't even ever recording over there. I thought I did that. Hey, there it is. Anybody over there? Oh, there's 11 people over there. So what do you guys, you YouTubers, what do you want me to do next? I'm not even going to listen to these hangout clowns. You guys got the floor. Somebody say something. Quickly, I see 2 or 3 people jump out of here. Oh, look. Oh, this is actually Will joining. Hey, there you go. JD. Who's JD? Well, what should we look at next, JD? You got the floor. All right. Well, Dave J up, and Rocker says hi. Hi, Rocker. Let's see. Do we have anything in particular? And you guys can see, I just get so many messages. It's just absolutely insane. So I apologize if my screen. Look at all these. And I got a whole bunch more new ones that I have to respond to. So let's just, I don't know if I've looked at everything everybody's asked us to look at. Remember we looked at that Exelon. I have this thing right here. I haven't really had a time to look into it. Didn't really like the fact that it's trading 3 times book. If anything, I wanted to maybe work stink bids on that thing. That's about as far as I took that. Let's see what else we got here. Can you discuss Goldman's 2200? I think we talked a little bit about that. Really, it doesn't surprise me. How could 2200 for BTC Goldman prediction level make sense technically? Well, I mean, really, the old Goldman low there is 1900, and 61.8 is sitting at 2000. We got 78.6 just off of this range. You know how much Brian loves 78.6. That's 2,500. So, and this is actually the last hard, solid body close low, solid body close up. Reversal level. So really, I would argue that this is where actual support is on Bitcoin. Up here, we're just playing games. And as I said right at the beginning of the video, really the key right now is this 38.2 and how it resolves. Right. Put all this stuff away. Storage. Didn't we look at this? Feels like deja vu. Storage. Is it a J or a G? Can't remember. GA versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin tastes great. Oh yeah, look at that. I even wrote something here. So obviously this is something we have talked about recently. Let's see what we got here. All right. Oh yeah, I remember this. We talked about the railroad tracks. Interesting here. Railroad tracks just never could confirm. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. I thought that was really interesting level. Coming down, flirting with these lows. I really don't want to see it make a new low. It sure looks like it did. So was really interested. In fact, actually, we had one the other day that was making a railroad tracks, and then the goddamn thing just took off like a rocket. So no reversal here just yet. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's a new low. So new lows, yeah, higher high. Oh, and I really don't like this. That's kind of a weird open there. Opened at 1817. So I don't know about that candle, but at the very least, it sure looks to me like they're going to test this low. We got a nice little inside bar reversal there, so that's a nice little level to work off of. Ideally, you'd really love to see this thing W out here. And as I said, huge potential railroad tracks there, which actually has failed. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. No big buy signal there. And actually, here, this get rid of that now. So, interesting location. Definitely like the idea. Pound the table? No. Little old lady nibbles? Not bad. Do your due diligence. Hopefully, they have a half-decent story. Can you tell us pros and cons between plan 1, sell half on a double, seem taking a long time versus 2, sell all on 30 to 50% profit, and rerun this on different coins? Okay, really sell all on 30 to 50% profit. What I'd really like to see is that the risk that you're taking on this trade has to be between 15 and 25%. So that way, your booked profit is a ratio of the loss that you may have to incur if your setup fails. I really think it's a really, really bad idea to go and strap on a position, little old lady, and then be taking profits at 30 to 50%. That, because every once in a while, first blood, I'm sure everybody is well aware of that piece of shit. Every once in a while, if you go and buy one of these things and you are trading setups, but you say, oh, I'm going to little old lady this and I won't get out if the setup fails, the fucking thing might just go right off the board. So if you start getting into the habit of booking 30 to 50%, but yeah, and you're doing a little old lady, and then every once in a while you have one that goes, just nosedives and just craps right out, 100% loss, then the percentages, you're actually walking into a bit of a trap where your average winner is actually going to be smaller than your average loser. Not talking about the number of trades, but I'm talking about your average trade win size, your average trade lose size. Cardinal rule of thumb, guys, in this game, we want to try and make sure that our average winner is bigger than our average loser. So really this is all about risk. If you want to go down this road, 30 to 50% profits, and you want to book those trades, then that means if, according to your trading plan, if you have at least a minimum of 2 to 1 risk reward, then that means that, on that investment, you have to have a sort of stop loss window where if the trade goes against me, 15, half of 30, to 25, half of 50, if it goes out there, I got to walk away. I don't like also the idea of having this sort of open-ended. Does this mean that when it hits 31%, I take profits? And if I did take profits at 31% and it goes to 50%, is that one of the ones in my model that I should have stayed in to 50%? So when you leave a sort of window like this, oh, I'm going to take profit somewhere in there, then that's leading to discretionary traders. And who can finish this sentence? And just out of curiosity, does anybody know what our job description is? We actually have a job description, and I actually just gave you the answer. Does anybody know what our job description is? No, that's a description of our job, not a title. Yeah, we are technically called discretionary traders. That is what our job title is. Now, who can finish this sentence? Yes, by definition, we are discretionary traders, but that doesn't mean we should trade at what? Oh, Kevin, you already answered the damn question. Our discretion, that's right. And you know, some people new to the site are probably like, what the hell is he talking about? But what you have to understand here is, yes, we are discretionary traders. It means we can trade at our discretion. We can buy, we can sell whenever we want. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we go in and buy and sell whenever we want. And when I see this, I'm going to leave the decision of where I should take profits, 30 to 50% window. Oh boy, does it make sense, guys, that injects a shitload of discretion into your trading. Does that make sense? I mean, that's a pretty big window. And what is the number one, and actually this would be curious, let's see if any of our recent graduates of the level 1 course can even answer this. Yeah, now they're all gone. Okay, weekly W's. No, that's not what he's going for. What the hell is he going for? No, but oh damn, now I can't remember what I was going to ask you. Fudge. Oh well, it slipped my mind. All right, so the point of the matter here is that it feels like you're kind of opening the window for danger here. I don't have a problem with you. Look at, I'm just going to take a nibble strategy, and I'm just going to work my orders to sell halves on doubles. And I would highly recommend in this space you have 2, 3, maybe even 4 orders working successively. Because when these things pop, look out. We had an example of that over the weekend, I seem to remember, or maybe late last week, where we were like, geez, you better get these damn orders working. But that is definitely one approach, but you definitely have to watch risk there. The other approach is, hey, I'm going to jack up risk a little bit more, take a bit bigger risk than 5% of my portfolio. But in that case, you know, I don't mind you having, look at, I just want to make, you know, a nice percentage return. But really the question has got to be, can I take a position where if I'm right, I'm going to get paid relatively more than if I'm wrong? That's what this conversation has to be about. So if you want to go for 30 to 50% profit windows, great. Then that means that the setup by definition has to risk less than 15 to 20%. If you can find those setups, I don't have a problem with that. Just get in there and trade. One thing I do like about the little old lady is, oh, now I remember the question I was going to ask you, and I was going to say all the level 1ers. What's the biggest issue? No, don't get me distracted. What's the biggest issue with actually dealing with money management and making decisions in the marketplace with regard to money? Is there something that ends up getting injected into the equation that can cause us a little stress? Emotions, that's right. Anxiety. Right? That's really what I was looking for. And the number one reason why we cannot just discretionarily trade is what ends up happening is we get sucked into that emotional vortex. and we start acting and behaving based on our anxieties and not prudent um, methods and techniques of managing money. So the question, the exam question of what I wanted to ask everybody is, what is the absolute number one reason why we plan? Can anybody answer that? Thank you, Gabby. And really, you know, no, not necessarily a change. Believe it or not, the purpose of planning is not to make money. We're coming to the market to trade to make money, but for us to be able to act on a regular basis with a clear head and come to work and, you know, have fun at this, right? And to be able to keep the hair on the top of our head, or at least not have it go gray, is we got to try and keep the anxiety down to as minimal level as possible. So that's the one reason why I really like, thank you, Garrett, Dr. Menaker's words. And it's not necessarily robotic, because it's interesting. Garrett would probably attest that Dr. Menaker, he doesn't really want you thinking like a robot. What he wants you thinking is calmly, rationally, and what's really important to him is you're always acting in your own best interests. And sometimes, and I've even seen it on some new people that have come to the site, I can literally, as I'm interacting with them and they're, you know, getting used to the lounge and how we sort of behave here, I can literally see that they're not acting in their own best interest. They're high anxiety, high stress, they're going 20 different directions. And one of the big messages from Dr. Menaker is just simply, just every once in a while, just stop yourself and just ask yourself, am I actually acting in my own best interests? Isn't that it's an interesting question to ask yourself, isn't it? Anyway, so the point of doing things like planning is trying to reduce that anxiety and make this a actual workable business where you can act in your own best interest. And, you know, if you're acting in your own best interest, then you start looking at ideas like things like, what's a good example recently? Well, even that natural gas, right? You know, look at that natural gas and, you know, go, you know, I got a funny feeling that, you know, throwing $150 at this thing, I could see that, you know, being a behavior that's going to work in my best interest. Anyway. Okay, sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Okay. It is now a time to get out of crypto market for a month or two. Oh, Jesus. Well, you know, the issue here is laser. Are you trying to make a quick buck? You know, if anything, I think that you could be at the stage where you're flipping yourself into and out of crypto, but that actually has to be at the very end of a very long process of you building your plan, understanding where you're going in your life, why are you participating in the crypto market, what are your objectives here, what kind of money are you working with, market are you trading on leverage, are you using forwards contracts? There's a whole bunch of moving parts here, Laser, that we have to answer before we can actually even look at this question. And, you know, the interesting thing in the financial services industry is they always say, consult a financial advisor to see whether the appropriateness of this idea is even in your best interest. All that kind of stuff. I mean, really, it's almost dangerous for a guy like me to just say, yeah, blow out all your crypto and come back in a month or two and you'll do fine. Because frankly speaking, nobody can predict the future. And as I've sort of pointed out, we're in a bit of a nutso part of the market. I've really tried to drive home the fact that these long-term cycle pivots don't come around every day. And what do you think, guys? Have I been suggesting to you guys to get into the business of calling tops on Bitcoin here? You think that's a good idea? um, as setups develop and present themselves, I'll trade them. But as I've sort of said to the broader community, and even in conversations I had with people today, I'm not going to look for a top in Bitcoin until it actually does top. The fact that we just made a new all-time high on this thing, and all we've done is we've just spent a week just pulling back from that high, that's not enough for me to justify, yeah, the story's over. And you know, I think probably the better way to phrase this is that if somebody in the public had come to me yesterday, today, tomorrow, and asked me, Brian, in your professional opinion, do you think Bitcoin is a good investment right now? I would simply have to say no. I would have to just simply identify where I think value is. And as we do on all of our studies, we just simply have to keep drawing our price levels higher and just waiting for price to return to value before we can start saying, okay, this is a good quality asset that you can actually have some faith that there's a floor in price. What it's going to do over the next month, you know, my hunch is we're probably going to be range bound, where we could very easily explore against this 3,000, 3,500 floor and very easily explore against the 5,000 highs. No problem whatsoever looking for price action within this wide range. I also think, too, there is a very realistic possibility this thing might have just an insane blow off top to finish its move. And I've often suggested to people that Bitcoin really can't finish a move without some sort of insane, ridiculous, everybody just goes, holy crap, I can't believe that just happened. Then we'll know that the move is done. So I hope that helps you. If anything, what I'm doing, you know, kind of like what I basically, and actually we had a really cool name that we talked about in the meeting this week. I'm taking the time now and I'm buying into names that are not looking parabolic right now. And we had a really interesting conversation in our meeting about this Omni. This is the kind of idea, you know, kind of like that natural gas kind of idea, where if I can try and sneak in off the bottom end of the range, when the public goes all nutso and they're going to be asking me, you know, and I even had people up in here say, hey, what do you think? Is Omni a good buy here? And it's just like, oh, you can't be serious. You know, that silly Verge, same damn thing. There are actually people out there saying, yeah, Verge is a great buy right here. Yeah, look at this. They're like, God, this has got disaster written all over it. Does it make sense? Right? Hey, really, Rob, it's just that simple. If you can force yourself to buy into this concept of reload zones, man, it sure makes life a hell of a lot easier. Probably looks scarier in dollar terms, too. Oh, yeah, I bet, and that's another funny, you know, we talked about that in our weekly meeting, too. That's another funny, interesting sort of twist of this story. Even in dollar terms, this thing's still a piece of shit. And you know that there are some people going out here, oh yeah, dollar coin, totally, it's worth $1 a coin, totally. And they might be right, but do you see how, you know, somebody who's coming in to buy here, does it make sense that they're kind of buying a lottery ticket? It might go higher, but you know, you kind of ironically enough, the statistical odds of buying here and seeing a multiple face rip move higher here is actually pretty low. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. EMC. I sure hope I gave you a straight answer there, Laser. I mean, that's really the straightest answer that I can give you is, you know what, honestly, Laser, if you're on the lounge, if you watch this later, if anybody actually answers this question for you, yes, it is a good buy. No, it isn't a good buy. That actually is setting you up for disaster. And we actually make a funny joke about this because remember, I was a broker for dogs years. I've been down this a gazillion times. Is this a buy? Is this a sell? Right, kind of thing. Interestingly enough, anybody who actually answers that question for you, Laser, they've got about a 33% chance of giving an answer that you're going to both like and you're going to be thankful that they gave you the answer. 33%. Actually extremely low odds. So I actually don't really like to make comments like that because the statistical odds, remember, I'm a trader. I want to play my edge. I want at least 66% odds in my favor. If the odds of doing something are 33% in my favor, as a professional trader, am I going to take that trade? Anyone? No. I'm surprised all of you guys have been like, no fucking way, no way, right? No comment. Okay. Oh, actually, I like the way that you turned that because you only have a 33% chance of giving me a right answer. I like how you're thinking, Roham. I like how you're thinking. So that's why all you guys are so quiet. Ah, there you go. So I apologize if that doesn't help you, but if anything, Laser, what I want to do is I want to work with you, get you working off that plan, identify proper risk management relative to the type of risk taker you are, look at the amount of capital you have in any particular name and ask whether we're taking too much risks, and then ask, seasonally whether we're in a half-decent buying or selling window. Then ask yourself relative, on your position, is it in a buying zone or is it in maybe a topping zone? And then we make we answer that question. So it's a very long, drawn-out process. Interesting, just to answer that very simple question. Sorry. All right, let's move on. EMC, Americoin, looks good for a nibble. EMC. There's Americoin here. I think this is probably it. Okay, now what I really like. Okay, Dan is gone. What I really like about what's happening in our community, guys, is I see it from you guys. We're no longer chasing up markets. We're thinking like institutions. I don't know whether this is necessarily quote unquote a buy, but I definitely like the statistical odds of considering purchases down here making us money versus if somebody had come to me and the coin was zooming up here and they were like, hey, Brian, do you think I should buy this thing? So, just from the most simplest basic perspective, I really like what I'm seeing out of this community. As this person pointed out, we're definitely into very interesting area. I wonder though, there's an old adage that says, how many times can you go to the well, right? Do you see how they literally brought the market down, they politely bottomed it here, and then they had this rip-roaring rally? So if anything, the guys that were doing the nibbles, I sure hope you got paid on this move. Now we're coming back down to the well, and the question you have to ask yourself is it realistic for this to happen again? And maybe we got to see some sort of more anecdotal evidence of W's here. Be interesting to see if momentum-wise this is going to set up a divergence, which it potentially has. You can see that there. Little concerned though that this rally, it almost looks to me like this was a pump window. So the guys that wanted to get off up top here above value here, they were given that opportunity here. That's almost what that kind of looks like. So if anything, maybe just be a little bit jaundiced. The fact that we made a new low here, let's see if we can find any sort of signs of bottoms. And then, of course, you know, little old lady strategy, working nibbles. You know, there's our original double bottom. You can see there's also a nice little pivot off of this level. What a shock. You know, this is the area where it's finding buyers again. What a surprise. So, nibbles, yep, I think it's not a bad idea. Pound the table, strong momentum buy. Yeah, I think if anything, we were given our gift right here. And now this thing's probably going to have to take some time and sort of calm down. All right. GCR. GCR. Oosh. Woo, sexy. I love, you know, this is this kind of investing again. You know, I mean, it's fantastic for our community. I don't hear anybody giving me these kind of names anymore, thank heavens. We had a little bit of that through the summer, and I was, you know, the people that just took the level 1 course, I think they, that's what are you talking about? What? That's what are you talking about? Don't quite understand the question. Coming back against low ends of ranges, love that. Oh, what did you say? I posted it. What did you post it? Okay. GCR. Oh, this is you. Okay, this is your request. I like the idea of trying to buy against low ends of ranges. You know, basically a reoccurring message. Seems to be some sort of floor down in this area. And you know what? This actually kind of looks like similar to that. What are you guys going on over there? Squirrel? What? This kind of looks to me similar like that natural gas, right? You see the similarities? If I whoops, that's not what I want to do. If I had $1 to spend, could I make $2 by going and throwing my dollar to work here? I think so. Can I make $3? If it's sitting right here at 1,000, making $3, Jerry. Yes. You're expecting 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, to get $3 on my $1 invested is only asking for a move to there. What do you think, guys? Is it logical to look for a move back to my little line here sometime over the next year or two? I think so. If you built a plan, well, fine, okay, so if you bought some, great. Now, if this thing has to sit here and just park itself sideways for the next few months, you see what time of year is coming up here. Should we do anything here? I don't think so. I think you just got to let your money work. I don't really think it's a good idea getting in and trading like hourly setups off of these little coins. It gets a bit dangerous. You can see how splotchy the trading is here, right? You know, do you see how illiquid this thing is? If we start zooming in on lower time frames, you get these really choppy action here. I don't think it's such a good idea to quote unquote trade these. And also to keep in mind, Polo loves to play games. I don't know whether this guy's on Polo or not, but these, these coin operator guys, they love to fuck around with the, the noobs, the public, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know whether I'd be too enthusiastic. It's not, it's on Yobit, even better. I don't know whether I'd be too enthusiastic to quote unquote trade these, but I absolutely love the little old lady strategy to investing in cryptocurrencies, nanny nibbles, whatever the hell you want to call it. I absolutely love this kind of strategy on stuff like this, because there's a fortune to be made here, guys. There really is. But the key here is you just don't know exactly how they're going to turn this thing. And, considering seasonality, could this thing just go sideways for another month or two? Sure. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Could I justify going in and nibbling off of this thing every day of the week? It's perfect. Is there any guarantees that this trade's going to work? No, none at all. But you got to understand that's part of this game. All right, hope that helps. All right, perfectly fine little story there. Well, it's really interesting, Roham. Like, a guy like you probably are going to start looking at capital gains implications, right? I've tried to keep everything in crypto. So as a result, I don't really mind letting the dogs pile up. I've got a shit list on BitRX. But if you do have capital gains implications because you're moving from crypto to fiat and stuff, then ironically enough, having a few of those first bloods isn't such a bad thing. And hopefully it'll be a good learning experience to you to understand why tax loss selling season acts the way that it does. In essence, if you're looking at capital gains that are going to have to be paid on other investments, it's not a bad idea. Just, as we're heading into November, December, just look through your list for the shit. And, if you're sitting on a loss, blow it out. And then that way, that loss will offset capital gains that are owed elsewhere. Does that make sense, Rohan? For a guy like me, I'm in no hurry whatsoever. I've tried to keep everything in crypto, so I'm not really looking at capital gains issues. I've seen time and time again, Rohan, at least 3 or 4 different occasions, coins that were total pieces of shit and everybody's just going to write off in October, November, December. You just sit on them. In fact, James had one. What the hell was it? It was Block. I think it was Block. You guys remember that? Basically, exactly that story. It could be exactly the way First Blood goes. Literally identical story. Last year, you can see the pump. You can see November. You can see December. They were just going to write this thing off. It was a total dead piece of shit. But you tell me, how's James done on his total dead piece of shit investment? So because of this, I'm not really in a big hurry to sell any of these things, right? And I've seen this happen at least a half a dozen times. Well, let's try and keep risk in perspective. If you haven't breached that 5% number, well, great, you can go up to 5%. I don't know whether I'd want to put 5% of my money into First Blood, though. I'll probably limit it at maybe like 1, 2, 3% tops. But, let's take a look at it. Let's just see, what the proof of the pudding is in the eating, as they say, right? Yep, she's still cratering. But, actually, this is a good example, exactly like library credits. Perfect example. Library credits came out last summer. You see exactly the same thing. Again, the charts almost look identical, right? Right? Last summer, everybody's all excited. Oh, this thing. Boom. You see that? I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the sort of interesting names, we'll maybe leave it at that, do something along these lines over this fall and winter. Totally realistic. Make sense? Giant W down there with an M in it. Yeah, well, if you get those W's with M's inside, holy crap, are they? All right, wow, BCFU'd that fractal. Quite sure. Are you talking about Bitcoin here? BTC? Okay, well, anyway. Okay, I've been talking for about an hour and a half here, so I think I'm going to call it a day, guys. We got through most of the list. We'll pick up these names off tomorrow. So, what do you think, guys? Did you enjoy that? Was that a fun broiler chickens? I hope so. Maybe you can have a look at club. All right, so Deutschland team. We'll finish off today with a quick look at club, and then we'll call it a day. Club. Actually, I was looking at this one yesterday. Yeah, she's trying to perk up here, right? Interesting bottoming action. Can we call a bottom here just yet? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of sloppy action. I think probably you'll know that, quote unquote, the bottom is in. Really, I would actually argue just nice close above that level. So it's interesting how they brought it up, closed it. You know, there's some guys who really like to follow a 2-day confirmation. Here's a great example. Couldn't get it up there, got it up there one day, and then, oh, back down the next day. Couldn't do 2-bar confirmation. Just not going to happen. So, if anything, probably noticed you was there's yesterday's high too. I think if anything, you probably have your nice line in the sand there, whatever the hell that level is. We just, made new lows. I think I bought some of this crap down in this area here, so hell, I'm not going anywhere on this thing. Little old lady style, totally. I do like what I'm seeing here OBV-wise. Great looking divergence. That's super sexalicious. You like seeing that. And on the longer term, oh yeah, so look at the interesting momentum and volume turn trying to come in here. So really interesting little name again. Little old lady, not bad. You want to go and take a nibble on that? It wouldn't depress me. And I think the odds of you making nice percentage returns relative to your buys, yeah, I think it's doable. Definitely doable. Okay, I think we'll leave it at that for today, guys. Yeah, so if anybody is watching this video or over on YouTube and you're in the level 1, I think what we'll try and do is maybe in the next couple hours, we'll just throw out a little sort of test hangout. And if you want to take advantage of that opportunity just to see if you can connect to the hangout, ask any basic questions, it's not a bad idea. So Garrett is, going to be one of our TAs here for this fall term. So great to see Garrett's totally on the ball there. And he's already talking about running the Telegram group. So way to go, Garrett. Totally awesome. Okay, so why don't we leave it at that? You guys have yourselves a great rest of your day. Bitcoin tastes great. Yeah, maybe a bit of a pullback here. And like we said, if you really want to be a buyer, let's keep a close eye on this. Basically, how she acts around 4,000 here through the kill zones here. Okay, all the best, everybody. We'll leave it at that. Bye for now.